How's everybody doing today? My name is Argent Saga, and today we will be going over the Wind Rares, Super or Rares, Commons, and Super Rares for the upcoming set, Betrayal. It is the first set in the Argent Saga TCG. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what y'all think. Let's get a friendly discussion going down in the or down below, and we're just going to jump right into it. So our first common we're going to go over is Terror of the Sand Sea. A 7-drop unit beast, 4K power, and this card reads: this card costs 1 less to play for each unit returned to the hand from the field this turn, and then when it attacks, your opponent sacrifices a unit. So this card could be pretty good, at least in the starter format, because you already have 2 units that can exhaust and return themselves to the board. You have Ariana, who you pay 1 and you can return her to the board. So, like, optimally, this card can be anywhere between like a 4 and a 5 drop, which a 4 and a 5 drop for a 4,000 unit is already really strong. And the fact that it attacks and essentially has Annihilator 1, where they sacrifice a permanent, or in this case, a unit, it's pretty good. It's really big, it's something that they have to almost guarantee Guardian. And they have to get rid of something else. So if they only have 2 things, like a Guardian, and like something they're trying to attack with, this thing can either get rid of the Guardian, which then they just take the damage, or they use the Guardian and then they have to get rid of the other thing. So this card's pretty good. I definitely think this card's going to see a lot of play in the Betrayal format. I definitely think if you pull this card and you're in the win colors, definitely run this card. There's no reason not to. I don't know if it'll see constructed play by chance, but I definitely think the card's really good. So definitely look forward in the Betrayal format. Next up, we have CNC Traveler. When it is a 2-drop, 1,500 unit. And it reads: when this card attacks, switch one of your shards to active. So this card's pretty good. I think you can do a bunch of either fun combat tricks or just like a bunch of like continuous plays with him. Because essentially, because he doesn't have quickness, and depending on your deck, at least for constructed, you can give him quickness through like Corona or something. But so you'll play him on turn 2. Turn 3, you'll get a shard. You'll pay however much for either a 1 or a 2-drop. And then you can attack with him, switch one of your shards to active, play another 2-drop, depending what you played before, or a 3-drop depending on what you tapped before. So I think the card's pretty good. He can help you extend plays. He can also be pretty aggressive and can help you get a bunch of stuff out. I don't know if he'll see constructed play, just because like his effect's a little out there, but he's not a bad card. And I definitely think if you're like very like synergistic and like combo oriented, depending on your pool for the Betrayal format, he should definitely go in, because I definitely think he's really strong. Next up, we have Sanc Drifter. He is a 4-drop, 2,500 unit. And he has Ruin, so whenever he dies, his effect will activate. And it says switch up to 2 target units to active. Or two target shards, my apologies, to active. So the card's pretty good. He's... Essentially how I see it is, I don't think he'll see play in Constructed. I think in the Betrayal format, he's kind of like the Traveler. But at the same time, like, he's more of... you tap out, you crash him into something that's 25 or less, or just something that like needs to be killed, and then you can switch 2 shards to active. You can do more combat tricks with it, and pretty much just like let you leave shards open to do combat tricks with, or to just further extend your plays if you have more stuff with quickness. But I don't know. I think the card's okay, but I don't think he's going to be really good in constructed. He might see play in the Betrayal format, but as of right now, he's just potentially filler for right now, which makes me sad. He has some really cool art. Next up, we have Sanc Covert. It is a 4-drop, 2,500 units, so another one. This one reads: your opponent cannot target air units you control with spells. So this one gives a blanket effect where they can't be targeted by spells. So if you're against light, that's pretty good. So they can't Holy Slash it. They can't... there's a bunch of other cards that like deal damage, like when they're attacking or like target things through their spells. So it's not too bad. It doesn't get around abilities, which can potentially be the downfall. But also just like a 4K 25 body also isn't too bad. So I think you could see plays like a 1 or 2 of in the Betrayal format. Might even see some play in Constructed depending on like the deck that you're up against. But I don't know. That depends a lot farther down the road and like what we actually get. So card's pretty good. So next up we have Disintegration Shot. It is a 2-drop spell. Doesn't have instacast, so you can only play it during your turn, and it has choose one. Destroy target augment or destroy target unit with cost 1 or less. So this card can kill really aggressive cards that can be a problem. It can kill opposing dragon eggs before they have enough dragons to proc their ability, or they can get rid of augments, which pretty much each and every attribute has an augment that they really want to like play. It seems like, at least for the most part, like the wind one, which we'll get to, is really good to pop. The light one that we went into yesterday was really good, where it essentially makes your gears cost less. So I think the card's pretty good. Might see sideboard play in Constructed, but I don't know. I also think it might just see sideboard play in Betrayal format, depending on what it is, because it just seems really niche, but like the card's not bad. So definitely not a bad card. We'll see where it goes. So next up, and I think this is our last common before we get into the rares or the uncommons for this game. It is a Tree Marksman. He is a 3-drop unit Skyraider with 1,500. Actually, I think there's more. Yes, there is more. Never mind. He was the first one for the first half because they released them in halves, so I remember sections. My apologies. But he has an arrive. When he enters the battlefield, return another target air unit you control to its owner's hand. If you deal 1,500 to target unit. So this card's really good. He synergizes with a lot of stuff in the actual win deck. Because for your what is it? The Sky Tree Dragon? Yeah, the Sky Tree Dragon. You need 3 things to go, or minimum 2 to 3 things to go back in order to proc its effect. So I imagine, like, if you do this correctly, you can arrive, bounce something, use the Aviator and the Engineer to bounce them back as well. Play Sky Tree Dragon, deal with more things. So potentially this card can, if done correctly, can, like, deal with, like, 3, potentially 4 things. At least over time. Plus it's a Skyraider, which is just a really good, like, subtype, because a lot of your ships can get Skyraiders back. And just this guy on an arrival effect is really good. So definitely not a bad card. I think he might see Constructed play. I definitely think he'll see Betrayal format play. Because 15 is a lot. It kills a whole lot of things in this format right now. So definitely a really good card. Next up we have Skytree Glide Trooper. He is a 3-drop unit Skyraider that is 2k. And it reads, if 2 or more units have returned to your hand this turn, this card costs 2 less to cast. So if you bounce a Aviator or a Engineer, or you use the Marksman to bounce something and you bounce something else, this card's a 1-drop 2k, and it's a Skyraider, which definitely isn't too bad. I wish it had another effect, but I definitely don't think the card's too bad. I definitely think if you have a lot of Skyraiders and you're already in like the winds, and you have the wind deck, I would definitely run this just because you have a bunch of Skyraider synergies with it, so definitely a good card. Next up, and I think this is like one of the best like win commons personally, is their augment. It is Skytree Command Center. So I'm getting like Power Ranger flashbacks about the Command Center, but anywho, it is a 1-drop augment, and it reads, when a unit is returned to your hand from the field, place 1 counter on this card for each. So it's worded a little differently, but essentially, whenever you bounce something from your field to your hand, you get a counter on it. And then it has exhaust, remove any number of counters from this card, put into play 1 unit from your hand with costs equal to the number of counters removed. So this card by itself, if you start with a turn 1, you can bounce things over the game and just start putting big things into play depending on how many counters you get on it. And I definitely imagine if you're doing like the straight up mono wind, which I imagine most people will be doing monocolored decks, you can also use Kite, the spirit for wind, to like further extend your plays. So I definitely think this card's really good. I definitely think this card's going to see Constructed play. I actually already have a deck kind of like brewing with it. So I definitely think this card's really good. I think it's going to see some play in Constructed. I definitely think it's going to see some play in Betrayal. And I think it should see some in Betrayal. Like, if you have your Wind starter and you pull this card, definitely run this card. This card seems like a house. Next up, we have Royal Command. It is a 4-drop spell, and it says switch all air units you control to active. Air units get plus 1,000 this turn. So this card, it's not bad. I don't know. I think it's pretty good. It reminds me of like an Overrun-esque type effect from Magic. But this card by itself can potentially just win you the game. Where you'll attack. So, like, let's say you have 3 or 4 units on the board. You'll attack with them, potentially either getting rid of Guardians, popping towers, going through that. And then, when all that's over, you can pay 4, switch all of them to active, so you can attack with them again, and then they all get a power boost. I definitely think either a 1 or 2 of in your deck for the Betrayal format is really good. And I think you can just straight up win you the game if you do it right. As for Constructed, I don't know. I think the card's really good. I think you need like a lot of like lower cost cards for this card to be like extremely effective. At least if you want this to be like your way to win. But it's definitely not a bad card, and I think it could definitely catch people by surprise if not handled correctly. And it can probably just steal you some games. So. Next up, we have Duck's Skyraider Captain. It is a 4-drop unit Skyraider with 2,500 power, and it reads Arrive, so whenever it enters the field, put into play 1 Skyraider unit from your hand that's cost 3 or less. So you get to put in Marksman, you get to put in where were you? You were just here. There you are. Glide Trooper. So, definitely not too bad. I think potentially, like, I don't know, because then I feel like you're paying 4 for it, and that just seems a whole lot. But, I don't know. I feel like a really fun play because you can Ducks play Marksman. Marksman will shoot something for 15. You can bounce something. So you can actually bounce Ducks back to hand and do it again. Or you can bounce, like, another thing for you to... You can bounce another unit for Marksman's effects. Or actually, if you do it right, you can potentially... bounce Aviator, bounce Engineer, pay 4 for Ducks, bounce or put in Marksman. Marksman's effect will go off to bounce Ducks, and then next turn you can Ducks into Aviator or Engineer. So it can definitely help you like extend plays and stuff. I don't know. I think the fact that it's a 4-drop is a little high. But the card's definitely not bad. It can definitely get you some really interesting plays. But at the same time, it'll also just help you dirtle. So, I don't know. I think it might see you can play as like a 1 or 2 of in the Betrayal format. I don't know about Constructed for right now, but the card's not bad. Next up, we have Winds of the Cloud Sea. It is a X instacast spell, so you can play it during either player's turn. You can return X target units you control to their owner's hand, then put into play 1 unit from your hand with cost X or less. So this card's definitely not bad. I imagine like your like best scenario for this is you'll have Aviator, Engineer, maybe even Marksman. You'll during their end, even when they like go to attempt to attack, you'll play Winds of the Cloud Sea, bounce back your guys, put in Skytree Dragon, and then you can just deal with their threats from there. Or even the Cloud Hawk of Great Hawk of Cloud Sea, to just bounce 3 things, flash this guy in, and then you can exhaust a unit and return something else. So definitely not a bad card. It seems kind of niche and kind of a little bit of a build around, but it's not a bad card. I think you can definitely see play in the Betrayal format, and it might actually see some Constructed play too, in a sense. So definitely not a bad card. I also think if you have a way to like steal like your opponent's stuff, you can bounce there and like flash in like the battleship. Blockade ship to just block something from attacking, which seems pretty good. But or just hard bounce 4 units, but at the same time that seems like you're kind of like overextending just for like one thing. So I don't know. I think the card could do some stuff. Just depends on what more we see. Next up, we have Skytree Hawk. It is a 2-drop 1000 unit beast, and it reads, when this unit is returned to your hand from the field, you can discard this card to draw 2 cards. So this card's definitely not too bad. This card, I imagine you can go Ducks into Marksman, bounce this guy, deal something 15, and then if you bounce this guy, you can discard it to draw 2. So essentially, you cycled your hand for 2, shot something for 15, and you have a board state. So, definitely not a bad card. I definitely think if you curve out correctly, and you do that play I just mentioned, you can probably do a bunch of really fun things, but I don't know. I feel like that's more lenient towards how many of the Skytree Hawks you have. I think that strategy is more for like constructed compared to the Betrayal format, but it's definitely not a bad card. I definitely think if you have like the opportunities to like if you pull this card, I would definitely run it in the Betrayal format just to give you more things to bounce and go from there. Next up, we have Monarch Sky Dagger. It is a 2-drop augment, so we have another augment, and it has equipped to target creature. Its arrive is you put a counter on it, and then it has you can remove a counter and choose 1. Deal 500 to target unit. Equipped unit gets plus 500 this turn. So that's just for the removing the counters. And then, it's not even all of it yet. If this card is in your discard zone, when a air unit is returned from your field to the hand, you can add this card to your hand. So it's either a constant shooting something for 5, which can just by itself kill things, or it can give something plus 5. So if it's something with Guardian, it can protect it and just make it really big and hard to deal with. Or it can kill off little things or do the last bit of damage, depending. And if you bounce back an air unit, you can constantly keep using it. So I think this is probably going to be like the closest thing that like Wynn's going to get to like lower rarity removal in a sense. But I don't know how good it is, if that makes sense. Might see playing the Betrayal format. I don't know about Constructed, honestly. Card seems very clunky, but it's not bad. It's not a bad card. So next up, we have Garg, Keeper of the Gaels. So this is the card from the Kickstarter. This is if you did the full, I think it was like the 275, or it was like you pay almost like $300, but you get this card in as an alternate art, full art. It's a 5-drop 3000k unit beast. And as a arrive, you choose a cost. Return all units of the chosen cost to their owner's hand. If 2 or more units are returned to the hand with this effect, this card gains quickness. So essentially, this card can win you the game on turn 5, depending on what they have. As long as you guarantee to bounce back 2 cards, and they actually don't even need to be your opponents, which I just realized. So you can, let's say you have a 2-drop, they have a 2-drop, you can choose 2, bounce those. This guy is a 3k with quickness coming out for 5. That's killing almost any Guardian and crashing into almost any tower, and it's pretty much something that they have to deal with. And like they have to hit essentially they have to hit a fire tower in order to deal with it, without dealing with like actual removal. Because like if they hit a wind tower and this is your only creature, and like it's not optimal for them to bounce it, because then you can just do it again. And most decks really won't bounce their own things, so you just got a free tower for nothing. I definitely think this card's really good. I actually think this card's one of the better cards for not just Constructed, but also for the Betrayal format. I think if you have this card in the win deck, you're going to be winning a lot of games, and there should definitely be more incentive for you to get the win deck and to just play it. I definitely think this card's great. I will always play this card. Plus, the artwork just looks really nice. Next up, we have our first of 3 super rares in the set. This is Omega Magic Kaze? Kaze? I think it's Kaze. I probably butchered the name, so thanks for bearing with me. It's a 2-drop insta-cast spell, so you can play it during either player's turn. If you control 2 or less towers, or if you have 2 or less towers remaining, this costs, the card cost to play this card is 0. And then it reads, target unit cannot deal damage or attack this turn, draw a card. So early game, it's pretty good. If they have a really big threat, you can easily just be like, this card can't deal damage or attack this turn, draw a card, so it replaces itself. Or late game, you can potentially either stall or prevent like a destroyer to just destroy your towers. to deal damage to you, and you get to dig through your deck and it replaces itself. So I definitely think this card's going to be really good. It seems like most of these Omega Magics are worth, like, if not picking up for, like, play, then, like, definitely just, like, kind of sitting on. Because I feel like, the future proofing for this card is a little out there. So I definitely think maybe for, like, a finance type video, maybe I'll do those later on. But I think definitely the Omega Magics are something that everyone should, like, probably try and pick up or, like, look into to just, like, sit down. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, though. I might be looking a little too far into it. Next up, we have Whitening Shot. It is a 3-drop spell, so you can only do it during your turn. And it reads deal 3,000 to target unit and 1,000 to another target unit. So this card's really good now that I'm reading it. Good lord. Because, so 3,000 will kill a lot of things. Like, most of the things in the red deck. Actually, pretty much almost everything in every deck. So this card by itself, you can pay 3, and you can almost guarantee to 2 for 1. And if not, you can, like, combo with, like, the Dagger to, like, guarantee the 2 for 1, but it's more of, like, a 2 for 2, if that makes sense. So you're really just breaking even. But this card's really good. I definitely think it'll see constructed play, and I definitely think it's going to see, or it should see play in the Betrayal format. This is another one of the rares that, like, pretty much convinces you to be like, yeah, you already have the win starter deck, run this card. This card's going to win you games by itself. And next up, and I believe this is the last card, and I think this is actually one of my favorite cards in the set. It's a Etan Righteous Outlaw. So it's a 4-drop unit prince with a 2,500 power. He reads, discard this card from your hand. Return target air unit you control with cost 3 or less to its owner's hand. If this card is in your discard zone, when an air unit is returned from your hand to your hand from the field for a second time this turn, you can put this card into play exhausted. Expel it once it leaves the field. So this card is really good. I think this card is an automatic 4-of in most win decks, whether you be mono or you're splashing. The fact that you can just discard him to further extend your plays. And I think, I don't know, I'll have to double check the ruling for it, but I think you can discard him to bounce a card. And if that was the second thing bounced for it, he comes into play exhausted. So essentially, for bouncing 2 cards, you got a 25k beater. Or a 2,500 beater. And yes, he'll be expelled when he leaves the field, but you can easily just marksman him back. Deal 15 to something. And that can be, either, after he attacked, before he attacked. Like, this card just further extends your combos, and I think this card's really good, and I definitely recommend picking it up if you're looking into playing Wind. I'm definitely going to be looking to pick up either a playset, a foil playset, I don't know. I'm going to try and pick up this card because I think it's really good. I definitely will see play in Constructed, and I definitely think it's going to see play in Betrayal format. So, but that's all the Wind cards, all the rares, or all the commons, the rares, the uncommons, and the super rares. So like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what y'all think. Let's get a friendly discussion going down below. Let me know what y'all think of the cards. If you think green's as underpowered as everyone says, or if it's, finally getting the cards that it finally needs. So, alrighty, y'all have a good day. I will see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.